people roll on, and then we will get stuck into it. All right, let's just have a quick check that we're in the right spot, the right time. Okay, I just want to check the audio is set up. So, just to warm this up, just while I check that everything's working, I'm with the legend, the alcohol-free superhero, that is Freddie Bennett, aka, as I like to know him, Freddie Wellies. This morning, we're going to talk about all things alcohol-free. We're going to talk about his brilliant podcast that he's the co-host of with another superstar of the alcohol-free world, Shazza, Sharon Hartley. But before we get into that, I just want to check that everyone can hear me okay, if you wouldn't mind, as we just had to sort of change the setup a little bit. So it looks like everyone's hearing me okay. This is perfect. And if that is the case, Freddie Bennett, we're rolling. Cyril says hi. Right, I can see all the comments. We are good to go. I'm taking it. Everyone can hear me. Otherwise, they'll be saying, I can't hear a word you're saying. Cool. This is good. Freddie, welcome.
Andy.
It's all happening. Welcome to the fun side of the island.
I love being on the fun side of the island. There's no other place that I'd rather be, and no one else that I'd rather be with, Andy, than you. We're going to do some alcohol-free damage with the ramage. I am so excited for this.
Damage with the ramage, I think
Exactly,
is the way
damage with the ramage.
to put that. And so, for people that don't know, and this is the cool thing about technology and whatnot, they're probably thinking you're just up the road or round the corner, but actually you're on pretty much the other side of the world right now.
I am, as we like to say on Over the Influence, I am in the future. So I'm obviously proudly UK born and bred, but I'm here in New Zealand. So it is 6:15 in the evening. So neighbours side of the world, and but it's great to be here with the power of technology to be speaking to yourself and the whole world.
Cool. So, I've just seen that Freddie's echoing. As much as we love to hear Freddie, hearing him in echo could be a bit of a nightmare. I think I've just changed something that I think might have corrected that. But if not, maybe try putting your... That's better. Yeah, I think I've solved it. I'll tell you what, I'm all over this. I'm like
Are we all okay?
whiz kid. I saw a little thing over there and I pressed a couple of buttons and I think we've sorted out that echo thing that's going on. So that's good.
Starship Enterprise, you're all just like
Fixed
Mandy.
it.
Oh.
I tell you what, look at that. This is a different level. Brilliant. All right, we fixed it. Fab. All right, so it didn't last for long. Cool. Right, so how I know Freddie. Let's just start with that. I know Freddie because he's a world record holder, right? And this, for me, is just one of the coolest things ever. And not only is a world record holder, if I could say it properly, he is the fastest marathon runner, right? It calls that the fastest ever marathon runner dressed as a fisherman. Right? I love it. We're in wellies.
There is that bit at the end there, isn't there?
Yeah, you've got to have the pause. There's a dramatic pause when you say that. A world record marathon runner, big pause, dressed as a fisherman. I don't know any people have tried to run a marathon dressed as a fisherman or have run it as quick as Freddie, but he did it. Full regalia of a fisherman. Like, I don't know if there's a fisherman uniform, but there was wellies involved, hence why I like to refer to him. He's in my phone as Freddie Wellies. So let's just start there, Freddie. You're an adventurer, an alcohol-free superstar, and hero. Tell us about your world record, because I love it. It makes me laugh.
So yeah, and thank you, Andy. And, it's a pleasure to be talking to you again. And I was thinking we've known each other now for a couple of years, but it was the crazy world record attempt that I think brought us together in many different ways. And yeah, how do I find myself on that start line of that marathon, dressed in yellow waterproofs, a pair of wellies on? I looked like a cross between a serial killer and the world's worst male stripper. And
Freddie, I'm just going to stop you there. The echo's back. Will you try sticking on the headphones?
I came prepared.
He's come prepared.
With my wellies.
The echo only stopped. Freddie, stop talking. Oh, I thought I'd solved it. Right, so let's just try it with the headphones. Let's just see if this works. I actually did a podcast once, and the podcast host sounded like a chipmunk. I couldn't see him, and he sounded like this chipmunk. And I thought, oh my God, that's the most bizarre voice I've ever heard in my life. And I was actually thinking, is that something wrong with the recording, or does he actually sound like a chipmunk? So I was sort of caught in this dilemma of, do I sort of say something or not? And I just felt, I was like, no, I think that's probably just his voice. Anyway, so we did the whole recording of him sounding like a chipmunk. And I thought, oh, that must be his voice. Strange voice for a podcast host. Fast forward 10 days, I get this message from him saying, going to have to do the podcast again. I listened to the recording, I sound like a chipmunk. So from that point on, I thought, right, if something sounds up or is not working, I'm just going to say it like as quick as possible. Right. So Freddie.
Absolutely.
See
How's
if
that
that's
going?
right.
Is that any better?
I can hear you. So let's just turn that up. Right. See, let us know if the echo is back. Right. So tell us
Is the
about
echo back?
Start telling us about your world record.
So I'll hopefully I won't start messing and then just talking about echo, because that would just be annoying for people.
No,
But
and freak everyone out. Perfect. Everyone's saying.
Perfect. Well,
Yes.
There we go. That's the alcohol-free magic, isn't it? You can face these problems, Andy, no matter what life throws at you, and you can just make it happen.
You're prepared.
So,
We are prepared.
exactly. So I found myself on the start line of the Liverpool Marathon, dressed as a fisherman. And it's worth saying I've run across the Sahara Desert. I've won some ultra marathons. I broke this world record, but I'm not a runner. I'm not an athlete. I'm not any kind of fitness person at all. 3.5 years ago, I was sat on a sofa, hungover, overweight, unfit, stressed, depressed, suicidal, and my life was going nowhere. And when I decided to take a break from alcohol, that's when I thought, why not see what you can be capable of, Freddie? Why not see, be the person that you want to be the person that your kids want you to be, and really see what is possible. And that's why I like to say it's all about helping everyday people, just like me, do extraordinary things. And that's why I found myself completing that marathon dressed as a fisherman, and there were so many metaphors in it that I could murder about doing this world record attempt and the alcohol-free journey, because at the start people didn't think I could do it, and it's very difficult to describe what it feels like to have 20,000 people point at you, laugh at you, and say, you can't do this at all. And that's what I had the whole crowd of people at a marathon doing the kind of like the double take and the look, and like the look at that guy. And that's what I had. And it's the same with our alcohol-free journeys. We say, look, I want to try and do this thing. I want to try and be different. I want to try and step forward and prove to myself that I can be behaving in this new way. And everyone else says, oh no, you can't do that. I don't think you're capable of that. No one else could. You couldn't do that. And that's what I had. And you have to take those first steps when you doubt yourself and you think that you can't do it. Then you keep going and you keep going, and you have the doubts and you think you might fail and you think you might not make it, but you have to find a way to keep on going. And that's what I had to do. And thankfully, the alcohol-free journey usually doesn't involve your toenails falling off halfway through and picking up blisters that are going to scar you for life near the end. And that's what I had just on that final straight, I remembered. And it was getting close with the world record. There was only a few minutes in it. And I was rushing as fast as I could, wearing a pair of wellies, sweating in a warm British summer day with these waterproofs on. And I thought, my vision started to go into like a tunnel. And I thought, I'm going to fail here. I'm literally going to fail at the last hurdle. And everyone's going to laugh at me, and it's going to be a disaster. And it's going to be a very public failure as well. And I'm a guy that is used to failure in my alcohol-free journeys as well. And just as I thought I was going to fall down, and I collapsed and I crumbled, and I felt this little thing in the palm of my hand. And my two sons had jumped over the barrier and they'd grabbed me by the hand and they'd said, come on, Daddy, you can do it. And they half dragged me, half carried me over the finish line. And then, we got the world record and everything else. And that's a great metaphor for our whys as well. Why do we want to change drinking? Why do we want to drink differently, take a break from alcohol, improve ourselves, change our lives, whatever it is? I believe we have to have a strong enough why. And for me, that why was my two children and being the person and the man and the father that I really hoped that I could be.
I love it. I just got to rewind there though. What actually is making me laugh is that you had to beat someone. So someone had already run a pretty fast marathon dressed as a fisherman. And we're going to get into all the nice bits that you said. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to because it just makes me laugh. So not only has someone run the marathon quicker than you, dressed as a fisherman, right? What denotes a fisherman? I just want to know, like in the Guinness Book of Records, like how do you know you're a fisherman? How can you say I'm officially a fisherman? That guy's not, whilst running the marathon.
Well, here's the thing. I thought, I entered this thing on a whim. I was like, yeah, I was like, that bloody alcohol-free positivity and, that spark it gives you. All of a sudden, I'm just typing an email to the Guinness Book of Records saying, let's do this. And I wanted to do a world record to raise money for charity. And we chose a fisherman because I was in Liverpool at the time, a proud maritime city. My kids liked sharks and crabs and those sorts of things. And they were like, Daddy, we want you to be the world's fastest fisherman. And I thought, as you say, Andy, I thought it was just a case of, get, and I'm not a fisherman, obviously, get the hat with the feather things in and one of those nice waistcoats and probably like a little bar of chocolate and a thermos of flask of coffee. And that would be fine. But the world records, you don't mess with them. I got a 4-page instruction manual saying,
did you?
Your fishing box that you have to carry has to.
You have to carry a
kilos.
box.
I had to carry a 3-kilo fishing box as well. Yeah, I had to wear wellies. I had to wear waterproof hat, jacket, and trousers, and I had to get the outfit approved by the Guinness Book of Records before the attempt, and then during the attempt. Not only do you have to run in the thing and try not fall over and be there carrying your flipping box that's a pain to run, I had to take a photograph of myself every mile to prove that I hadn't done a quick Superman and, dived into a bush and got into a different outfit and then jumped out again. So there's so much rules and regulations and evidence. We had to have witness statements and everything else. It isn't just a case like you see on the old BBC Record Breakers show that they used to be on, where you just cross the line and you get the certificate. It was, I was going to say I've had court cases that are easier, but that's probably a different story. But I will say, the Guinness Book of Records are very, very strict, and we had to follow all these rules to get the certificate, and then to go in the book.
I love it. I absolutely love it because that just reminds me of, it was Norris McWhirter. Do you remember Norris on the spot?
Yes.
Anyone remember that? And what was the main guy's name? It's just all coming back to me now. It was Norris McWhirter.
Was it Roy Castle?
Roy Castle.
Yeah, that was.
And he used to play the trumpet.
Yeah.
And what was his song? If you want a miracle, break the. It'll come to me. Anyway, I'm not.
I always get it confused with Gladiators. That's something like that. My age now. That's the thing. I'm older than I look, Andy.
I'll tell you a story about Gladiators. I trained with the Wolf, because you remember the Wolf? There was like the baddie in Gladiator. He decided he wanted to be a professional footballer, and he came to train with Gillingham, where I was playing at the time. Yeah, and trained for a few days. We had a reserve match that I ended up playing in. It was the largest crowd we've ever seen at Priestfield Stadium in Gillingham. There was about like 10,000 people there to watch the Wolves. I keep doing these little things.
Amazing, yeah, that
debut. And he was absolutely
just prove how macho
pony.
I am, as always, with my...
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, you don't mind getting your top off either, do you, to be fair? Every time I look at you, you got your top off.
It's weird wearing a T-shirt, but that's the thing, Andy. I'm going to be 40 in a few months' time, and I'm reaching that stage where, like, it's not cool for a 40-year-old to be prancing around with his top off. Like, I'm obviously not going to ever be on Love Island, and so my kids are there saying, like, put it on, Dad. You're 40 now almost, and I'll try and milk it for as long as I can.
You got the old like washboard going on there. I like it, and I also like the poses that you've got in your photos. The sort of, it's like blue steel. It's a bit of blue steel.
Yeah, it's like I'm really trying to work out like a times table or something like.
Yeah, this is really tough actually. What like pondering? Yeah, I can see it. I like it. I can see a whole calendar, like like page 7 fella.
It's funny you say that, Andy.
Here we go.
The story, and because I know we're going to talk about the podcast and everything, but I've got to say with the alcohol-free podcast that I know we'll cover, Over the Influence, the world's fastest growing alcohol-free podcast, we do have an amazing, wonderful community that's growing by the day. And we have said, or rather I've said, and my co-hosts Shazza and Ben hate the idea, when we get 1,000 people in the community, we're doing a naked calendar. It's going to be a naked calendar. All proceeds are going to go to alcohol support charities. And it's going to be brilliant. I think, we're going to have Shazza, just natural things, baking her buns in the oven. Me and the other guy, Ben, will probably... Sorry,
Andy? I can imagine sort of holding fruits and
just holding the fruit. Probably me and the other guy, Ben, will just like play a game of Twister.
Exactly. You can't beat a bit of Twister. I can imagine you'll be holding some sort of bottle of beer. I can imagine that.
Yeah, probably. Probably just one of the small ones, I imagine. But yeah, some sort of beer bottle.
Yeah, you remember those little beer bottles you used to get? Those tiny little ones.
Yeah. Those little tiny cans of Coke that you used to get from the sweet shop. That could be it.
Or the plain. When you get on the plane, you get a little alcohol-free. You could get a mixer bottle, Seedlip, something like that. Anyway, that is a brilliant idea. I'm not surprised you're doing that. What a great idea that is, by the way. We've got to make that happen.
We can. You know what, Andy? 12 pictures in a naked calendar is a lot just to have from 3 people on a podcast. Maybe we should get other famous, inspirational voices from the alcohol-free community to feature in this naked calendar, Andy. Wouldn't that be amazing, Andy?
That would be amazing. I'll be all over that in a big way.
Is that an Andy Ramage exclusive then? That we will have Andy Ramage exclusively naked. It could be you and me playing Twister. It'd be brilliant.
Wait till I tell Rory. He's well up for it, apparently. He's all over it. Well, that would be interesting. To say the little... We're going to move on. We're going to move on very, very swiftly. To come back, actually, to a lot of what you said there, because I feel like I glossed over some really important things that you said there about your alcohol-free adventure. So let's just sort of dive into that a little bit. How did you end up in that place of something's got to change? What was the build up to that, and what was it that sort of tipped you over the edge and you went, do you know what, I'm going to do something different?
Sure. And my life looked very different, it's fair to say, and everyone in life always says that we all have a talent for something, and fairly early on I discovered that I had a talent for drinking. I came from a fairly broken, fairly disrupted home as a kid. I was a fairly quiet teenager, but I all of a sudden discovered, like so many people do, that I had a drink, and by golly, I liked it, and I liked who I was when I had a drink. I was more confident, I was funnier, I could talk to girls, which was a scary thing for a 14-year-old Freddie, but I was probably 18 to be honest. And it made me be this person that I wanted to be, and for a while it was fine. And I'd be like any old teenager, doing a bit of drinking, getting a bit drunk at the weekend. I went off to university, and I wasn't actually that bad. Like, I'd get drunk, I loved to drink, but it didn't turn into a proper problem for me. I was just the guy who created this persona about being the life and soul of the party. I even had a name for myself, which was Funtime Freddie, and I was that sort of drunken arsehole. And I created this life for myself that I thought I have to be the fun guy, the first guy at the bar, the guy who's always doing the crazy thing, and that carried on, but it started to snowball. And I left university, went to London to join the big corporate world, and unlike, without getting too political about UK corporate life, I didn't come from that back. I didn't have parents that were doctors and lawyers and accountants. I was a real fish out of water. I was the first person in my family, really, to ever have a proper job where you have to go to work every day and wear matching shoes and all these things. And I find myself in this environment with all these very high-powered, very successful people doing all these high-powered, successful things, and they knew the words to say, and they knew the places to go, and they knew the way to act. And I landed, I remember, early in London, and there was in the corporate world for the first time, and it was all like elevator pitches and networking and power handshakes, and I was just there saying, like, I can't believe you can get free coffees from the machine. This place gives you free coffees. Can you believe that,
brilliant.
Guys? And they looked at me. Sorry, Andy, carry on.
No, I was just jumping in and joining in with you. I think there's a little delay. Carry on.
I don't know, and it was crazy, and I realised again, being this guy that was very nervous, didn't know how to act around people, didn't know how to be successful. I really felt like an imposter, and I thought everyone here went to the right school, the right university, they did the right degrees, they say the right things. Who am I? What am I going to do here? And then, fairly early on, we had a night out, and I did something stupid. It was probably like staying up till 4 a.m. on a Tuesday night doing tequilas with the boss or something. And then I walked into work the next day thinking, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. I can't believe I've done this. And then the boss comes up to me, and it was very like blokey city. And he was like, "Oh, it's the legend. Here he is," high-fiving me and everything else and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, actually, hang on. I've been getting drunk and people like me even more. So I'll do this again. And I did it the next night and the next night. And for a few years, it worked. And I rose up the corporate ladder. I got the nice bonuses. I had the Porsche. I had the young family at the time. I had the granite worktops, the watch and everything. Outwardly, I was successful, but inwardly, I was starting to really hate that person that I saw in the mirror every morning. And the person that I saw was hungover, regretful, anxious, depressed, overweight. My skin was terrible. My teeth were terrible. I was really starting to hate myself. And I said to myself, this isn't the way I thought my life was going to go. I had so many hopes and dreams when I was younger. But then, as we do in life, I promised myself that I'd make those hopes and dreams come true after the next promotion, after the next pay rise, after the next project, after the next job or whatever it was. But then, lo and behold, the nights got later and the lunches got longer and the drinks got larger and the waistlines got tighter and the kids got older and the mortgages got bigger. And I just put those hopes and dreams on hold. And then one night it all came crashing down, and I was actually celebrating a promotion. And as always, I'd be drinking heavily. I'd do my favourite trick of going to meet some new mates, which actually meant I'm going to go and get drunk on my own now. And, went to some different bars as the night wore on. The bars got dodgier, shall we say, until I found myself in some extremely dodgy establishments at like 5 o'clock in the morning, again on a Wednesday night or something. Went back and you had the walk of shame when everyone else is commuting to work and you're kind of staggering through the street like something off The Walking Dead, thinking, what am I going to do now? And then I reached that point where I thought there's no way out, and everything felt so dark and so depressing and so inescapable. And that's when I thought, I've got to end it all, and maybe it's time to exit this building that I'm in from the roof and not from the ground floor. And that's when I had to when I had to start getting the Samaritans, the UK suicide helpline, into my phone, because it was that bad for me and I saw no way out. And I thought my life was over and out of control. And I thought I couldn't see a way back to that person that I loved and that person that I knew. And I sort of put my hand up and did the therapy, and had the podcast by Robbins and the books by Goggins, and I tried to feel the fear and do it anyway. And I even learned the subtle art of not giving a so on and everything else. And I tried to sort my life out. And for a while it worked, and then I failed again. And I tried to stop drinking, and I failed again and again and again. And then one day I was hungover at work again, so I hadn't really changed my behaviours that much at all. I'd had 1,000 failures under my belt. I'd failed to stop drinking 1,000 times over the years. And I got a phone call saying, your dad's in hospital. And I walked out of work with nothing but a suit and a laptop bag, drove down to see my dad, and then I watched him die. And I had that day that we never think will happen to us, when I woke up hungover, didn't have breakfast, had some junk food, hungover lunch, normal day. And by dinner time, by 6 o'clock that night, I was watching my dad die, and I kissed him on the forehead, and I said goodbye. And I walked out of the hospital, and I said, this is your crash course in life being short. This is your lesson in life being precious, and I have to change my life. And the honest story is, 6 months, for the next 6 months after, I partied and drank harder than ever. But then I did wake up that one morning when I hit yet another rock bottom, and that was the 8th of March 2019. And I thought, I no longer am going to tolerate this life for myself. I deserve better. My kids deserve better. It's time to choose a life less ordinary. It's time to move away from that living in quiet, hungover, regret-filled, drunken despair. And it's time to see what you're capable of. But you know what, Andy? I have a saying, and I say it many times, that if you want those things that you've never had before, you need to do those things that you've never done before. So if I wanted the confidence, the happiness, the fulfillment, the self-love, achieving my goals, if I wanted those things, then I knew I was going to have to do something that I'd never, ever done before. And that was leave alcohol behind.
Massive. What a powerful, powerful story. And I can even see from the comments, lots of people resonate with that story, because I think it's the ubiquitous story, isn't it? That many of us share in different forms and formats and different extremes, but it's that similar pathway of trying, very often failing, that quiet dis-ease with the situation that we're in, and then very often like something comes along and still that thing, that sort of rock bottom or that moment is not quite enough. It's something down the line. But I think the key is, and the beautiful part of your story is that sense that one day it's like, right, do you know what, I owe it to myself, you know, to show up in a different way in life, and to my family. And there's that like sense of, I'm just not putting up with this anymore. I am going to do something different. And then things start to change, don't they? I think it's away from that sense of loss and I'm missing out and I've been a naughty boy, to that sense of actually maybe there's something a bit different out there for me, and actually maybe what I'm seeking is in the cave that I most fear to tread, which Joseph Campbell talks about, and that is taking a break from the booze. Brilliant. So you're at that point, you sort of make this decision, then what happens?
Then I get scared, basically, and it felt like I had a whirlwind of crossroads ahead of me. And because we've all had those moments where we wake up and we look in the mirror and we think, oh, I can't believe I did that again. I'm going to quit, and that's it. But then we don't quit. And as I say, that happened to me, and I worked out, over the years, about 1,000 times I failed to quit. And I thought, this time I have to do it properly. And the main shift for me was I didn't make it about willpower. Yeah. In the past, I'd always tried to white knuckle it. I'd been there. I'd say to people, oh, I should really quit drinking for a bit. And I want to drink, but I'm not going to drink. And I think I'd like a drink, but I really shouldn't drink. But shall I have a drink? Oh, I don't know. But I guess I said I wouldn't drink. And it's just that internal dialogue all the way. And you're like, oh, the drink's just over there, but I can't have it. And when it's that willpower, we can never win. And Andy, you're the personal development absolute expert. See, I'm sure you can describe this better than me, but someone talked to me about the elephant and the rider concept that's going on in our brains, and this really resonated with me. And again, you can probably explain it better, but in our heads, we've got an elephant, and there's that's the more sort of the caveman part of our brain that just, if the elephant wants to eat, it'll go over there and eat. If the elephant wants a beer, it'll go over there and have a beer. But our more conscious thought is the rider, the little person on top of the elephant saying, excuse me, please go that way. Excuse me, please go that way. And for a while, the elephant will do it, and it'll do what the rider says. But then eventually, the elephant's just going to go, nah, I just want to go over there, please. And the rider can't do anything about it. And that's the shift that I tried to make. I knew I couldn't, if I made it about willpower, I knew that I could never win, because eventually that elephant, the willpower, would win. So I had to make a conscious decision to say, I have to want something more than this current life. And I say, for me, it was the crazy things in terms of the races and the fitness and the world records, and more important things like the confidence and the fulfillment and the happiness and the happy kids and everything. But for someone else, you might have had a dream to write a book, go to a place, run in a race, start a relationship, end a relationship, start an art class. No matter what it is, we've all got that thing that I believe that we want to do. And I had to think about what is that life that I want more than alcohol. And that's why I talk about a life less ordinary. When I could really define and get crystal clear on that life that I wanted, it wasn't easy to leave alcohol behind because I know it's really, really bloody hard. But it was simpler. It was if I want that, then I have to say no to this. And that's why I had to take those steps. But and then it's the crossroads, isn't it? That I remember that I think it was on day 2 for me. I had to go to my kid's school and help out for like a school, school fair or something. And I had the idea, you always have the mum who organises everything. And she was like, "Oh, Freddie, you like a drink, don't you? You can man the bar all night. And don't worry, just help yourself to a beer as well." So I was there on day 2, like so up to here with like cans of Stella.
In alcohol.
With people saying, "Oh, I'd love a drink. Oh, I bet you're loving it. Free beer." And I was just kind of, just take it and go. And I did have to white knuckle it there. Then I was just sort of thinking, like, think of that perfect life. Think of the perfect life. And just pushing through on that. And then you have the first birthday, the first wedding, the first time you see your mates, and they say, "What, really? You're not going to last 30 days. You're not going to last 90 days," and everything else. And that's when I just had to, and I think anyone, you have to get calm, you have to get quiet and really focus on what you're doing it for. Because to say you have to want it more than the hangovers. You have to want that thing, whatever it may be, more than the comments and the whispers and the doubters and everything else. Because I do 100% firmly believe that anyone has it within them to do that. And I say if an old, drunk, broken down, stressed, depressed, suicidal guy like me can do it, then I guarantee that anyone can do it. And obviously, one of the main reasons I did it was because I had the expert guidance of my new best friend at the time, Andy Ramage.
Yeah. Yes, I see what you did there. No, it's so true. And it's, even the comments people are saying how powerful the story is, because I think, again, many of us have been there, and it is that shift. I always call it that mindset shift, which is the same thing, or the alcohol-free magic, which is the same thing dressed up in different ways, which ultimately it's not about willpower. Whilst it's about willpower, I think you're always in that place of ambivalence, that love-hate relationship. You're like white-knuckling constantly, trying to not have this thing that you sort of secretly want, and eventually you get tired, stressed out, maxed out, whatever it is, and then you crumble and you end up in that cycle of 1,000 never agains, like you mentioned. But then there's something that happens, and I think everyone that's on their longer sort of alcohol-free stretch or has transformed their relationship with alcohol at some point has had this shift, this moment when it's like, oh, I get it now. Actually, do you know what? I'm not giving anything up. I'm gaining all this good stuff. I'm gaining energy and mojo, momentum, consistency, trust in myself, love for myself again. This is what I want. I want more of that. And that in itself becomes the thing that is so attractive that the thoughts of going back is just not an option. And then at that point, the ambivalence is gone. There's no more willpower. And then it opens the door to a much longer streak alcohol-free. And that's where you start to build that lovely momentum, that rich, vibrant life without the booze. And you become someone that just doesn't drink. Like, why would you? I'm sure your mind is like mine. It's like, why would I ever do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, why go back and do that thing now?
I totally agree, Andy. And one thing I will say, though, and certainly a message that we try and put across on Over the Influence, and I had this, sometimes I believe people get frustrated in those early days, early weeks, sometimes those early months. And I was like this, and I thought going alcohol-free would be a silver bullet. I thought all my problems would disappear. It'd be like a Disney movie. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'd hold my hand out and a little bird would come and like land and sing a song to me and all these wonderful things. But it wasn't the case. And in those first few weeks, it felt like all the skeletons from my past, all those drunken mistakes were all coming back to haunt me. I was more anxious. I was more stressed. I was more depressed. I still wasn't where I wanted to be in terms of my, my relationship, my life, my career and everything. And it was probably about 100 days in for me even. I remember kind of like looking up to the sky and I was like, oh, I thought we had a deal, I thought we had a deal. I give up alcohol and you sort my life out.
Yeah.
But it isn't like that. Stuff happen. Pandemics happen in life. People Yeah, people lose jobs, people get betrayed, relationships end, cats die, unexpected things happen. Going alcohol free can't make our lives perfect, but what it can do is galvanize us and give us that inner strength and that calm, quiet confidence. And that's what I still think. I'm in a bloody pandemic lockdown right now. I've left the UK. I'm here in New Zealand. I'm seeing everyone in the UK having a lovely old time, and I'm here locked down again. And a part of me would be thinking, oh, that's just not fair, man. Like, come on. Like, what's that all about? But I think, well, everything happens for a reason. The fact that I'm not getting drunk every night, I haven't got that hungover regret. I've got that sober confidence because I know I've got through drunken incidents where I've had drug dealers holding guns to my head. I've got through some really bad situations when I was drunk. I got through some bad situations when I was getting sober. We can do anything. We can be unstoppable. Once we can get to the fun side of the island, things can hurt us, things can upset us, things can sometimes not go our way, but we can deal with it, we can get through it. And I think one of the wonderful things is the communities out there, the sober communities, everything you're doing, Andy, with not only the people in your coaching group and your communities, but also your followers. Together, we really are a force to be reckoned with. And anyone out there, it doesn't matter whether you're on day 1 or if you're on day 1000, this matters. This is where we can all be part of something. This is where we can all make a difference. And together, we can support each other. We can all win together. And we can all deal with whatever 2021, I mean, heaven knows what 2022 is going to be like. But whatever life throws at us as a group or individuals, if we can overcome alcohol, then we can overcome anything.
Love that. I felt like giving you a round of applause on the back of that. I'm sure everyone listening probably does.
I felt I should have.
That was like Gladiator. You went all like Russell Crowe on yourself. That's what it is, because he's from New Zealand, isn't he? That's what it is. It's the New Zealand factor. I was like, yeah, Gladiator. That's what you're going to come out with. Love that. But it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. The community that you've created, we get to that in a second, that we've been involved in, and One Beer and all the stuff that I do, even though I haven't been able to do the alcohol-free stuff for about 18 months. That's more or less over in September, which is super cool. But together, all of us, I think, are moving the needle in such a positive way. And I talk about being the circuit breaker in your family, being that shining beacon of positivity in your networks and in your careers, and for your colleagues, of someone that actually can live this radiant, energized, like beautiful smile of a life whilst being alcohol free. But something else you touched on, and I want to come back to that as well, is that it's not just the stopping, is it? And I think that's a bit of confusion that people can have at times. It's like, right, if I stop, my life will be amazing, and I'll be over the woods doing Facebook lives and going, this is all fab, and look. And actually, the truth is this: the stop part is the start. When you stop, it really begins, and the self-development begins. And it's a lot of what I do now with the Arate Way and the courses that I run, is to really try and help people build that personal development alongside a break from alcohol, because it sets up the perfect platform. But you still have to use it. You still have to do the learning. You still have to do the work on what lies beneath, because the truth is, I think for a lot of people, there's some underlying issues that need to be faced and dealt with, whether that's through medication or counselling or whatever it is, talk therapies, or just general motivation. Once that work's begun, with that clarity of the beautiful serenity that comes from being alcohol free, then there's that like inching it up. That's when you start to make that progress towards this life, this radiant life that you've always wanted to live. Then you're unstoppable, because like you said, you get that lovely confidence that starts to come back, and you keep it. It's not plastic confidence that melts the following day with the hangover. It's like there to keep. The radiance is there, the consistency, the trust. All these things start flooding back, and it comes from that one thing, which is the start of everything, is that break from alcohol. So what you do, and Sharon and all the communities and myself, I think is so important to inspire people to get started. But then there's this what next bit that I think is as important, if not more important than that initial hurdle of having the courage to stop. So on that note, let's start to talk about what's been happening, because it's got really exciting. I mean, we got to know each other years ago. We spent some time working together at One Beer. I think, did you leave before me? I can't remember who left first. I think I went first. I think I might have gone first, and then you ended up coming out for various different reasons. You don't have to go into that. But since then, you've then teamed up with another legend from the alcohol-free space, and someone that I've known and loved for years and years and years as well, Sharon Hartley. So tell us about that whole adventure, how that unfolded.
Sharon Hartley, aka the Queen of Sobriety. I
Shazza.
bow down before her. I was going to say I would kiss the ring, but you know what? With Sharon Hartley, I would, because that's how wonderful she is. And I've known Sharon for a while now, and she's just amazing. A beacon of hope, a fountain of light, a very Lancashire goddess, and she's just wonderful. And Over the Influence, our podcast was born around my kitchen table. I mean, what I love about our community is that we always talk, we always bounce ideas, we always say, what's happening over there? How can we help? How can we help all of us change the world? And I was speaking to Shazza around my kitchen table, and we said, well, you know what? Why don't we create a podcast? And I happen to know a podcast producer where I was in the time in Liverpool. Super talented, one of the best podcast producers in the country, Ben Anderson, and together we had this meeting, and I call it a meeting, a chat is probably a way of doing it. And we thought, well, why don't we start a podcast? Because we felt there was a different message to say out there, because we felt it, especially in the podcast space. There were two different themes as such. There was the very doom and gloom, alcohol is bad, put in your headphones once a week and listen to a really dark and deep and depressing story. Or it would be the very, dare I say that, the very Californian sunrise yoga, drinking green smoothies, life is wonderful, darling. And there's nothing wrong with either of those approaches. And there's some amazing people in both of those different camps. But we thought, why not give something a little bit different? Why not be a bit British, a bit bold, a bit brash? Why don't we be 100% real? Why don't we be honest with people? Because ultimately, we're not perfect. We proudly say we're not experts, we're not counselors, we're not therapists. We, in terms of our personal development expertise, we're light years away from you, Andy. Any of the expertise we send your way, and we do it with pride. But for us, we thought, why not share the stories of not only everyday people, but also the artists, the world famous authors, the singers, the social media superstars, and really try and inspire people. Because many people out there, they automatically assume that when you go sober, it has to be a tough, dark, difficult time that you're gonna have to fight through. Why can't we make it the time of your life? Why can't we give you the best bloody 45 minutes of your week talking about booze? And that's what we try and do. We bring the motivation, we bring the laughter, we bring the fairly embarrassing stories, which are usually mine, talking about getting locked out of hotel rooms naked and all those sorts of things. And we started this thing, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were very scared, we were very shy, we were reluctant. And we started recording this thing around my kitchen table, and people started listening, and it grew and it grew, and then it turned into a bit of a beast. And now, we've got over 70,000 listeners everywhere from Auckland to Alabama via Aylesbury. So we've had people on there, influencers with over 4 million followers. We've had some amazing recording artists. We've had authors like, obviously, yourself, Andy, being the number one guest. Yeah. We've had William Porter. We've had Claire Pooley. We've had everyday people that have got such inspiring and motivational stories of courage and grit and determination. But the main thing that we try and do is just laugh at ourselves and give people laughter and that connection. And that's what I talk about in terms of we want to start a sober rebellion. We want to show people that this can be the best bloody time of your life. And it doesn't have to be feeling sorry for yourself. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom. And the most important thing is that we're doing it together. Because it isn't about me. It's not about Sharon. It's not about Ben, and I've got to say, Ben, our producer, he started off being a guy that loved his beers, loved his drinking and everything else. He was just a podcast producer. But because me and Sharon just annoyed him enough, basically. He stopped drinking whilst recording the first series. He's now hit over a year alcohol-free. He's loving life. His business is going from strength to strength. But it isn't about any of us. It's about our wonderful community members. It's about our listeners. It's about everyone, because we're not doing this to say we're going to bore you with our story. We're just the catalyst for change. We're just out there to help people discover these amazing, talented people, to have a great time, to be part of this sober rebellion. Because as I say, this is where people matter. This is where they can be part of something special. And so many people have told us as well, this is where they belong. And that's something that I'm so proud of. We say our membership is growing all the time. We get emails every day from people saying that their lives are changing. And for me, that makes it all worthwhile. Every Zoom I have to do at 4:00 in the morning here in New Zealand, every late night, every trawling the internet and begging yet another celebrity agent to please bring your very important celebrity on our podcast. If we can change one life, if we can make one person smile, if we can make one person's bad sober day into a successful sober day, then that makes it all worthwhile. And you know what? We're just getting started. This sober revolution, this sober rebellion is going to be something absolutely amazing. We're going to disrupt the world, and we're going to empower 1 billion people to drink differently. And that's why we love being so close to you, Andy, because anyone out there, we say, if you need help with personal development, if you want to speak to the experts, if you want the guidance, Andy Ramage, he's your man. And I think all of us, all of the people you've had on the podcast, all of the influencers out there, together we can all change the world, and we have this power, and every single one of us can make this world a wonderful, sober, alcohol-free place. We're going to give the world alcohol freedom, Andy, and that's what's going to happen.
Alcohol
I'm going to take a breath now.
You're on fire this morning. I'm just staying out of it. I'm like, there's no point me getting involved. I'm just going to sit out and let you talk. And I think that's the way it should be.
Just put the kettle on, make yourself a cup of tea. I'll still be just going at this.
Exactly. I was thinking I might just pop to the shops. I'll be back. I might go to Costa, do a bit of work, and I'll be back, and it'll still be giving it some. That's what I love, right? And that's that passion shining through your eyes. And, I think you've picked that up, and you've seen in many ways me doing that for years and years and years, and I love it that that there's more and more people like yourself who I've known so well for so long now, like really starting to move the needle a bit. And I totally agree. Collectively, we can make a massive difference, because when you think about this thing, it's so gigantically vast, and there's so few people really out front trying to sort of help move the needle. But it's that collective, it's the group that makes all the difference. Not about us, we just happen to be out front just sort of marshalling the community and creating some of these initiatives to get people to come together and have a similar experience to us, and then go out into the world being radiant and joyous, and those alcohol-free beacons that are just spreading that message without trying, without having to hammer it all the time. It's just showing up, and that in your networks inspires people. I bumped into a lady just yesterday, a lady called Catherine, who's a great runner, who is about over a year and a bit alcohol free, and she said to me, Amazing. "Oh, I know you. You're the one beer guy. I know about you." She said, "Because my friend, I went for a run. He's called Andy Garwood. And I saw him and I thought he looked amazing. He'd lost all this weight. He was doing this ultra marathon. When I knew him, he was like a big drinker, much heavier, struggling. And I saw him and he looked amazing. And I said to him, what did you do? And he went, I did this thing. I stopped drinking and I feel brilliant. And she was inspired. She never did any of the platforms or any of the programs. That was her being inspired by him. And then when she met me, she was over a year alcohol free. Life had been transformed. And I went, how bloody brilliant is that? And I got straight onto Andy and said, your actions, your effort, your courage inspired that lady who wasn't a great friend of his, just an associate that he sort of bumped into. So imagine collectively what we're all doing. Even if you don't know it or you don't realise it or you don't get those obvious wins, because Andy had no idea about that, I had to tell him. Imagine all the people already we're collectively inspiring to do something different. I think that's pretty bloody special. And you mentioned one person. It's not one person. It's hundreds of thousands. It's millions. And I think your prediction of 1 billion, it's got to happen. Collectively, we can do this thing.
Together, we can do it. And I think, and I'll be careful slightly. I'll choose my words carefully with this. But I think the well-being world, should we say, is a funny one, and sometimes I think it's more, to be honest, a reflection of society as a whole and social media. And there's some people out there have this opinion of, you're either you're one of my people, or you're one of Andy's people, or you're a part of this group, or you're part of that group. And I'm like, why can't we share? Why can't we come together as one overall alcohol community? And I'm not going to get political and talk about the big bad alcohol companies, but there are a lot of powerful bodies out there in the retail industry and in the more government side of things that make a lot of money from drinking. And I think, why be a bunch of small groups try to hammer on a big door? Why can't we all come together with this? So with Over the Influence, we're like, follow everyone. Follow Andy. Sign up for everyone's programs. We love it. We'll point you in the direction. I'll give you the sign up form for any of our followers, any of our listeners. I'll say, get involved, do it. Why do we have to say, well, these are mine and these are yours? And I think that amazing collectiveness is so powerful and important. And one more thing on this is something we talk about a lot in the group, and I was maybe like this at the start of, like, you go into either a free community or a private community, or you listen to a podcast, or you do a course, and sometimes we think, what am I going to get from this? Come on, how are you going to change my life? I want to see the benefits. I want to change. I want this. I want that. I would say, why not think about what you can give as well? And when I thought about that, and one comment that you might make, one liking of someone else's post, replying to someone else's Facebook story or Instagram story, it might just change someone's life. It might just save someone's life. And that's why I always try and say, it isn't just about what can I get from this alcohol-free community? How are you going to help my sobriety? How can we all help each other to be successful and succeed? And as you said, with that amazing story with Andy, sometimes you can change someone's life without even knowing it. People have changed my life, and obviously, Andy, you've changed my life. Lots of the famous stars have said things that have changed my life, but sometimes it's been the one word comment on one of my posts when I was feeling low. It's been someone that I'd never even met just sending me a DM saying, I know where you're coming from. Those are the things, those small movements, those small changes. That is really what is so amazing about this whole community, and that I think we have to nurture and encourage and grow. And together, like I say, we can all change the world, and we can all live such an amazing, happy, fulfilled, alcohol-free life where we're all just making our dreams come true. That's not too much to ask, is it?
No, it's so wonderful, right, to hear. And we've spoken a lot about this, and we will do a lot more around this in the coming weeks, months, years together, because we have the same views around it. For us, it's the same thing, isn't it? We're all in this together, playing in different positions, but everyone's got the same motive if you've come in from the right place, which is to try and collectively make a difference, right? And it doesn't matter about where you sit or what groups, that's irrelevant. It's like the big, togetherness around this alcohol-free space, because I think you said something really, really important there, and that's about, there can be that mindset of what's in it for me, but actually one of the quickest ways to make real, lasting change in your life is to give to others. And I think that sense, when you build those groups, and I saw it with one, beer, and it was the most powerful part of that whole experience for me, was the giving. When people actually give back, and they support, and they champion, and they cheer on, and they bother to post, and they bother to like, and they show up for someone when they're struggling, right? That always, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. And I see it in my own groups, in my body gym, when someone's there and they need that support, and someone's made the effort for them that they might even know, that might be on the other side of the globe. They're showing up for them, even if they're struggling themselves. And I think there's something magical about that. And I think when you remove it from the I to the sort of we and the group and the community, it becomes even more motivating, that your actions that are going to spread to those people that you know and love, they're going to inspire other people. And if you show up for other people in that giving space, beautiful things happen. And I think that's why you're getting so much wonderful momentum around the Over the Influence, the podcast, the community. I'll be a part of it. We'll support each other and champion each other, because we get it, right? We totally get this coming from that same place of, we just want to help people live a new, different and exciting life. It's the best life. I've just seen one of the comments saying, I'm off to climb the 3 peaks today. boring, this AF life, isn't it? Right? I love it. You know, you can just see it, you know, look at some of those comments if you get a chance. People love this stuff, right? Because finally, you've got a group of people or a community that gets you, that understands you, that's with you, that supports you, because this is the real truth. It's really difficult to get it in the outside world, within your own family networks, because very often, most of your family networks still drink. They don't see it. Whereas I think this online thing has just changed everything, in the sense that it allows you to get into a room effectively, or into a community of people that get you, that understand you, that know you, that you can turn to when you're having a great time, and you can turn to when you're struggling. And that's very hard to get in the outside world. But here's the thing, back to that billion people, it's starting to happen. And I love that it's starting to flow into the real world now. I said it just recently, I was in Ireland, and, you know, the bastion of drink, let's be honest, and they were flying out the doors in terms of, I've just lost Freddie. Freddie's just gone. He might come back on. I'll keep talking. Freddie's gone to Costa. That's what he's done. He's seen me on a roll and gone, I'll just pop off to Costa. I'll keep going because I want to get Freddie back on. I don't want to wrap it up just there. I'm sure he'll know how to get back in. He'll probably ring back in a second and he'll come back on. So back to the island story, was really powerful to me to see. There he is. Let's get him back on. There he is. He's back.
Andy, you still with me? I'm back.
I'd said, I bet you've gone to Costa. I bet that's what he's done. He's actually seen me on a roll and gone, I'm going to go to Costa. I'll be back in a minute. I was
so
just
sorry,
talking.
Andy.
Don't worry, I styled it out. I told you, like anything, you just become unflappable when you're alcohol free. You just get like a new confidence to deal with echoes and disappearing guests. I was like, I know that Freddie's good, but now he's actually disappeared. It is. It's part of it. But just to come back to that last point, just to wrap it up. So in Ireland, and they were serving alcohol-free alternatives, were flying out the door. Massive busy. You know, if you've ever been to Ireland, the pubs there, best pubs in the world, and they were flying off the shelves. They had it on draft. So my point being, as much as these online communities are amazing and they're just giving us a new level of support, it really is starting to flow into the real world, like the broader world of friends and family and networks. And for me, that's the game changer. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's happening, which I think is the most exciting thing.
And I think on that, Andy, I'm happy to almost give you a sneak preview and an exclusive. And I can't say too much, but Over the Influence, we're on this mission to empower 1 billion people to drink differently. We've got some big goals around things like the alcohol-free beer space, shall I say? Because we're not going to go down the coaching or personal development route, because we're like, that's simple. If any of our audience want coaching, personal development, Andy Ramage, he's your guy. But we're going to be helping people to get over the influence in the pubs and the supermarkets of the world, and I'll leave it at that. But there's some very exciting developments to come on that front.
I know what's coming, and I'm excited by it, and I can't say it. Well, lucky you told me, because I'm such a blabbermouth. I'd have been on here. It's like I actually did a live one of these mornings, and if there's a program here, you're probably here for. Well, you would know it. Line of Duty, and I came on the day after, so it was the big reveal. I totally schoolboyed it. I was like getting really excited, and I went, I can't believe it's. And I completely give it away. And you know, we have one of those moments, literally the air just almost escaped from my body. I was like, I've just told everyone.
You try like
get
it back in your mouth, but it's too late.
Yeah, it was like too late. I was like, oh no. I was totally embarrassed. I had to delete I literally had to put the thing down, delete the line off. Anyway, that's another story. So, you know, we've had a brilliant conversation. I mean, we could keep going. We'll do more of this because
absolutely,
you know, we've barely scratched the surface of this stuff, and we are so aligned. And obviously now I'll be doing, you know, more in and around this and be a big champion of everything you do. So, for those that don't know as much about you guys, where's the best place to sort of learn more? Obviously, you've got the podcast and whatnot. Just tee up all the places people can reach out.
Sure thing. So the podcast is called Over the Influence, available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever else podcasts are broadcast. overtheinfluence.co.uk. That's our website. We've got amazing content. You can get the podcast on there as well. We do have this amazing, thriving pulsating, wonderful membership community at the moment. And I say you can find out more about it and sign up on the website. But there's all kinds of things on there. You've got the community. You've got the secret second Over the Influence podcast. There's weekly Zooms, monthly masterclasses that I hope, Andy, you'll be part of one of those. We've got people like,
definitely,
William Porter's signed up. We've got the world's leading experts in nutrition, motivation, positive psychology, sobriety coming onto that. So the podcast on Instagram is @alcoholfreepod. And my own Insta, which is basically me just running around with my top off, if you like that sort of thing, before I turn 40 and put the top back on, is @Freddie Explores, which is FREDDIE Explores.
Love it. Yeah, and again, thank you for everything you do. It's been such a pleasure, both yourself and Sharon. I think Shazza's on. I just saw a comment from Shazza.
Oh, amazing.
It's been such a pleasure to see, the momentum that you're building and all the good that you're doing in the world. And I'll always be a massive, massive supporter, massive champion of everything you do, because I think you're absolutely fab. And like we said, collectively, we're going to move the needle in a big way with your help, with everyone's help. I mean, I think that's what it's about. And I think if we can turn it into that, you're doing this not only for yourself, but for other people, you'll be much more motivated to stay alcohol free. And together we'll make a real difference. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing to look back on your kids and say, I did that?
And here's just one example as well, Andy. And with Shazza being there, I almost forgot. Obviously, Shazza's excited about the Naked Calendar. You're excited about the Naked Calendar. I'm excited about the Naked Calendar. We can't wait. It's going to be amazing. But there's one, just to highlight one thing that we do. This is for anyone out there. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't even have to go on an email list. Shazza Hartley, the Queen of Sobriety. Now, in the UK, if you reach 100 years of age, you get a telegram from the Queen. With Over the Influence, if you reach 100 days alcohol-free, you get a telegram from the Queen of Sobriety, Sharon Hartley. And let me try and grab mine without knocking my phone off, which, let's face it, they're about. So yeah, you get a proper, where's the camera? A proper telegram through the post. Handwritten by Sharon Hartley. Where's my camera? There we go.
There it is.
So drop us an email at overtheinfluence.co.uk. OTIHQ at...
Oh, I've lost him again. Just at the critical point. Well, I think we got everything there anyway, so I'll probably wrap it up there. But I think that was absolutely wonderful. I hopefully enjoyed that. Inspirational. He's on his side. He might come back in a second, but I think we'll leave it there anyway. And we'll do this again very soon. Freddie just gave you all the details how you can contact those guys. They're amazing. I'm a massive, massive supporter, a massive champion, a massive fan, and always will be. Exciting times ahead for us all. I'm going to bring Freddie on just to quickly say goodbye, and then...
I'm not finished yet.
Right, keep going, quick.
Sorry, I'm going to be quick now. OTIHQ at overtheinfluence.co.uk. You get, when you reach 100 days, you get one of these. No sign up, no membership. You don't have to pay anything. Tell us that you're reaching 100 days. We send you it for free because it's fun, because it's entertaining, because it gives people motivation to reach that 100 days. That's what Over the Influence is all about. That's what this is all about. Getting sober, together, changing the world, and having a bloody good time.
Go on, Freddie. That's how you finish it off. That's how you sign it off. I thought I was going to have to do it on my own. But he's back. Right. Now we can actually both go to Costa. Well, you can't do anything. You're locked in for the next however many days.
I'm going to go for my dinner.
Yeah, you go and have your dinner. Right, we'll wrap it up there. Brilliant. We'll do it again soon, Freddie. Top man. Hopefully everyone really enjoyed that. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you all.
See everyone.
See you all soon.
All right, bye.